Welcome to our, what month are we in? March Board of Education meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Paulette O'Brien.
Here.
Shay.
Here.
John Creed.
Here.
Scott Latham.
Here.
Brian Tobin.
Here.
In the event of an emergency, visitors are advised that they may exit this room from the one side door which leads directly into the parking lot. In the event of an emergency, everyone is asked to move away from the building and do not attempt to leave in your automobile, as this may cause traffic problems and block incoming emergency vehicles.
Thank you. First thing on the agenda is the first hearing of visitors. At this time, if anyone cares to address the board, we ask it to be kept to comments about the agenda items only. Angela, it's just you tonight. Nothing? Okay. So we will turn the robotics presentation over to you, Dr. Mora, and then we'll come back to our consent agenda.
Do you want to introduce, or you want me to? Okay, so at this time, we're going to call on our robotics club to come up and do a presentation. They're going to be competing in another week or so, and they've been working diligently, nightly, to put together their robot. For those of you that are not here in the room, that don't know about the robotics program, it's a long-standing program, and it is comprised of international competitors that work at. They go to competitions at their regions, and then they go to nationals, and then even international competitions. They get given very rigid speculations on how they have to build a robot. They have to build it in a certain period of time, and then it has to do certain things, and they compete together. And I've been lucky enough to go to Hofstra and see some of the competitions. I've also been lucky enough to see our group working in the lab and also practicing in the gym, and they've done fantastic work. So I'm going to turn it over to them now so that you can share with us everything that's going on. Please make sure you guys introduce yourselves, okay?
My name is also Sophia, and I'm also a first-year member.
I'm Aiden. I'm a fourth-year member, and I'm the co-vice president of the team.
I'm Tom. I'm a third-year member, and I'm the co-president of the team.
I'm Matthew. This is my third year on the team. I'm a co-vice president of the team.
We have four major components to our robot. One is the intake, which is the first one we're going to speak to you about today. Our intake consists of a half-inch tack shaft connected to a series of surgical tubes and compliant wheels that we have modified to become more forgiving to allow the power cells to be taken into the hopper more easily. One issue that we had with this, though, is the power cells kept getting jammed at the top of the hopper. Now you can't see it, but underneath here, we have a PVC pipe surrounded with rubber that rotates and allows the power cells to be transported more easily into the hopper. Now it is worked on a pulley system in which the wheel that is connected to the PVC pipe is a bit smaller than the one connected to the hex shaft, so that it spins twice as fast. This was a big thing for us because for our robot, consistency is key. If it does it one time, it does it 10 times. And that's a big part of competing because we want to get as many points as possible. The next part we're going to talk about is the hopper.
We encountered many issues while making our hopper. The biggest one was that the power cells, which are these by the way, would get stuck while moving throughout the hopper. A student suggested to use the bristles of a broom to sweep them through. We were all skeptical of this idea at first, but it ended up working really well. Unfortunately, the power cells would still get stuck at the back of the hopper. So we added in this PVC pipe, which is motorized here, which spins them up and through the hopper, into the shooter.
Also, another unique thing about the hopper and the intake was all the motors were reversible. So, say a ball got jammed in there, we are able to be over and we could still shoot them back out, which then leads to our shooter. Our shooter was personally my biggest challenge. I probably spent 2 to 3 weeks on it. We had 2 wheels, 3 wheels, side to side, but then we came to the conclusion that we needed to have backspin on the ball, so we did wheels over wheels with 3 small wheels on top and 3 larger wheels on the bottom. And we could spin these at different speeds so that we could get a backspin on the ball. And basically how it worked was we had a compliant wheel that came out of the hopper, which shot the balls into the shooter. So then this would zero it out and then shoot the balls out of it. And a unique thing about our shooter was It was on a turret, and we had a limelight, which is basically 6 LED lights that light up the target so we can't see it. So, say we were driving straight, we could still shoot at the target if the target was over here and we were driving straight. So that made us save a lot of time throughout the game. We could pick up balls while we were shooting them.
And as we've been told over and over again, you learn more from your mistakes than your successes. And we were really able to see this throughout the build, especially through all the iterations.
A part that had a lot of iterations was our climber. And it's a very unique part of our robot, and we spent a lot of time on it. At the beginning of the season, we wanted a 20-second climb. By the end, we got it down to under 5 seconds. So the climber is lifted by these gas shocks, and on the top, there are these 2 hooks. They're about 2 inches apart. And this was a big sticking point for us because we were trying to figure out the best way to hook onto the bar in the first place. And one hook here, the problem with that is that one hook, if the robot gets onto the bar, it can wobble around because there's no sticking point for it to be stable. And we eventually, after that, we tried 2 wheels on the very edge of this climber. And the problem with that is that you need to approach it at the exact angle to be able to latch onto the bar. And eventually we decided on this design, which is the most optimal.
Like you were saying before, we had a lot of different versions of this. First, we start off with, say, we had 2 hooks here and there, and we also had motors on the hooks. Because the bar we had to climb on, it actually had to be leveled out by multiple robots, so we thought maybe we could slide to the middle or out if we need to level it. In the end, that really didn't work for us because 2 hooks on the outside, it took a lot of time because we had to actually line the robot up perfectly straight to actually hook onto it and climb up. So at the end, we just decided 2 in the middle would work a lot better. And also the motor, so it just kind of went away. So as you can see here, this is kind of how it works. And we have 2 pieces of surgical tubing lifting up. Normally I have 2 attached, but for safety reasons, because it would shoot up faster, we only have 1. So basically, the way this thing works is, which is actually pretty unique, when we run into the bar, instead of just hitting it hard and possibly breaking part of our robot, these gas shocks actually absorb some of the shock of the bar. So we can hit it at a lot faster speeds and it'll just absorb it and go in. One of the cool things about the hook on the top is, since we are going to be hitting the bar at a lot faster speeds, it's actually designed so no matter what, say we hit it here, it still slides up almost 100% of the time and catches the bar and locks in. One of the other cool things about this climber are these brackets down here. So as you can see, this thing doesn't actually shoot up until it gets to a certain height. And the reason for that is, during this game we can't go outside 7 inches of our border, so we thought we make this bracket where it won't shoot up until it gets straight up, and then it goes straight up and won't go outside of our border, so we won't get a card or something in the game. The cool things about these brackets were, we got a new CNC machine last year in our tech shop or workshop. And the cool thing about that is, since it was new, the mentors had nothing really to do, knew nothing about it, and the kids really got to learn a lot about it and built a lot of things out of it. And things like these brackets here, the shooter was all built out of it.
Yeah, all these framing here.
Yeah.
All the things they made.
And the cool thing about that was the kids really got to learn it and ended up actually showing the mentors how to use it. So it was a big part for us to actually learn and use it.
Can you tell us what a CNC machine is?
A CNC machine is an automated machine where you can, say, put a piece of metal, wood, or anything on it, and it uses a bit, like a drill bit basically, and it spins at a high speed, and you map it into a computer, like what you want. Say you wanted something like this. You map that out by using multiple points in a computer, using CAD, and then you send that to the machine will actually cut it out perfectly, like 100% of the
We would
time.
never be able to cut something like
Yeah, so for difficult cuts, like if you can see here how all these are framed out like that, you just plug it into the machine, and then we did it 4 times.
Yes. This concludes our presentation. Do you have any other questions?
Could you guys describe the task that the robot is required to perform?
Yes. So it's a field, and there's a goal. There's a high goal, I guess a high far goal, a high close goal, and there's a small box in the middle. The robot needs to collect these power cells, and with the shooter or something, ends up shooting them into one of those goals. Each different spot's worth points. Say the high far one's worth 3, the high close one is 2, and the low one's worth 1. And then by the end of each match, there's also a color wheel, which we didn't mention because we don't have that on our robot. It's a wheel that you have to spin with multiple colors on it. You have to spin it to land on a certain color. And we got rid of that on this version because we didn't need it this year.
Our robot was really small, so this was an advantage because it was able to go underneath the color wheel.
Yeah, it was like a table basically like that, so it was able to go under. And
you
then,
could just look at it from underneath.
yeah. The last thing about the challenge was the climber, which you mentioned. There's a swinging bar on, say, one point up here, so it was a long bar, and 2 robots from your team, or 3, had to climb onto it, and if you got it level, it was worth more points. So the more robots climbed and made it level, it was worth more points.
Can you explain how the competition is taking place this year as compared to past years due to COVID?
It's,
So it's an at-home recharge. So basically, we all have different challenges that we have to do, and I'm pretty sure we have to film them.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we have a film team working on that, and then they'll submit the videos, and that's how it goes.
There's a bunch of different things, like, we're presenting to judges for the judges part. You could build your own game, basically. When's that? Is that soon?
That's tomorrow as well.
It's tomorrow?
Yeah.
So then you basically create your own game, present it to judges, and then the
Actually,
driving part.
yeah, the robot part, there's a bunch of different courses. Guys can probably go look in the gym after, and we have the robot running. There's a bunch of different courses that we have to drive manually, and then we also have to do it autonomously, which is used in code, and it's just put to the robot, and you just press a button, the robot will take the course. Also with that, there's like 2 shooting courses where you pick up balls and shoot them, and then drive them. So there's small little challenges compared to actually one big challenge, but it's the best we have right now, so.
It was cool that they did that, though, because we still had to do some changes to
Yeah.
the robot. We didn't just get to do nothing.
We've made the best of it, for sure.
Yeah.
And the game design was really neat because that was just a totally new component. And what we had to do is the kids, we do have part of our team up in the library because they're presenting their game design idea tomorrow to their judges at 2:30. And they had to create a first robotics game that could, if we win, could be
Next
the
year's.
basis of the
Future, yeah.
idea of a future game,
That's cool, that's
which
neat,
is really neat,
The game is,
That
their
is
idea
neat.
is really cool,
yeah.
that's neat.
so.
How many students involved this year?
We have 29,
That's great.
29 kids.
How many did we graduated a lot?
We asked the kids, so it's been awesome.
So, thank you, guys. We really appreciate you
Thanks,
coming in.
guys.
You guys are ready? Sure.
Student presentations, when you're done,
Thank you,
everybody
thank
leaves.
you.
Thank you very much, good luck. Keep us posted.
Take the robot.
What do you want to hold up?
We used to take,
What's that?
I might play with it.
It's, yeah. That's one thing I missed, is the, there,
What they just did, Brian, that's the presentation they're giving.
let's try to keep going.
That's what they have to do. They have to
Thank you,
talk
guys.
about their robot and the build
Thanks,
season and
guys.
stuff. So they needed practice, so we said, can you come to the board and practice?
make better
And their
sense.
interview's
Have
tomorrow
that
night.
robot going instead of pushing it.
So,
Let me tell you, it scoots. I've seen them do it. It scoots around that thing.
It's amazing stuff. The
the cool thing is that the way First has them competing though, is that they placed them in groups of 30. So it's 30 teams in a group, and they're teams that we've never, ever, ever seen before. Because there's random, so it's kind of cool that we're seeing teams that we've never seen before. That will be competing.
They did. Well, the rest of this meeting will be boring after that. Okay. Next is our consent agenda, which is approval of our minutes from our regular board meeting of February 24th and the budget meetings of March 3rd and March 10th. Our financial matters, which are our bills, our treasurer's report, our monthly budget status report, transfers, extra classroom activities funds, some surplus, we're surplusing some items, staplers, a desk chair, some Chromebooks, and a risograph.
What?
Risograph, whatever a
Risograph?
I don't know, what is a risograph? Oh, otherwise known as a copy
like
machine.
1970?
We have some contracted services for private schools for our students and the CSEs. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Judy, second?
Second.
Was that John or Scott?
And Brian.
Oh, Brian, was it Brian? I
three
thought
of
it came from that end. Sorry. Is there any questions, conversations about that? A motion, all in favor? Aye. And then we have our BOCES Joint Cooperative Bidding Program 2021-22. So this is for next school year? And this just allows us to do something.
It allows us to use the BOCES bids.
Okay. I don't have to read this, do I? Okay. Is there a motion to accept
So moved.
Resolution Joint Municipal Cooperative Bidding Program Resolution A?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Old business? Superintendent's report, Dr. Morrow. I see here return to normal.
So, we continue our quest to return to normal, although I don't think normal will ever be what normal was. And I don't think that's necessarily bad. We're in the process of looking at some of the things that we were forced to do this year that really turned out good that we may want to keep in place in future years. Video streaming plays to maybe family members around the country that can't see them. So there's a lot of different things that we're looking at. Sports are underway. It's great to see the kids out every day. I've been able to get to tennis matches and soccer games, and we have had some of our teams quarantined from time to time, but the kids are really taking it like troopers, and none of them have been because of any case of anything here. But it's great to see. The clubs, the same thing. You just saw one of them now. And they're really, they're working through safety measures, yet still getting to participate in things that we value and things that are important to us. We are in the process of meeting to look at all of our end-of-the-year activities, and as the state and country continue to loosen their restrictions, it gives us a great deal of hope that we're going to be able, although maybe not in the exact same way, do all the end of the year things that we have done in the past. We're looking at proms and ceremonies and even possibly trips, so they may not look exactly the way they were or be exactly the way they were, but we're hoping that they will provide some really nice opportunities to our kids. We've had a couple of senior and junior events already here at school. The senior surprise, and we had the junior, marshmallow roast, and we're going to continue going forward with those things so that our kids can have as normal an end of the year as possible, and it's really nice to see. And I know that everybody, as vaccines go out and as regulations get loosened, you can see more energy and the ability for us to do some of these things and provide for our kids. So we continue to work in that direction, and I'm very happy to see it as we go.
Has most of our staff been vaccinated?
I don't know, because we're not really allowed to ask. It's,
Oh, that thing we were supposed to report, that went away?
yeah, that was announced at a press conference prior to any guidance ever being put out. And when the guidance came out the next day, it said, don't ask for this. I mean, the truth is, whether you get vaccinated or not is a medical,
Right.
is a medically private piece of information. I believe much of our faculty and staff have been vaccinated.
Anybody that's wanted to has.
I believe most of the ones that have wanted to, and the ones that were really trying and had a hard time getting appointments, I believe many of them have gotten them more
Good.
recently. So, I see the ability, people who really struggle to get appointments recently have gotten them. So the ability to get those types of things and put them in place has clearly increased, and that has led to, a lot of the loosening of restrictions that we've seen.
Thank you.
Just one question. In terms of getting back to normal, these kids, is there any plan to put them, to have them use their lockers or at any point this year, or no?
We haven't,
Matituck is, I
Yeah.
heard Matituck is using it.
we have not looked at the use of lockers. Matituck's been back in school for 2 months longer than us, so they're probably a couple months ahead of us, which would really put us about when we're emptying lockers, So we haven't been, but, I can tell you that we have, I think, by the beginning of the fourth quarter, less than 30 students on full remote in this building, which, you know, when the percentages around the county are 20, 30, 40, 15, you know, our percentage is about 4%. Or 5%. So it's a really nice thing. You know, we're going to continue to look at all those things, use of locker rooms, use of lockers, period, you know, as we continue to move forward. But we have not, that hasn't been one of the ones that was on the list. I would love to reach out to high schools and see how many of them are using it. You know, it's nice to see the kids in the halls, and it's nice to see the energy. You know, it's nice to have to say, stop doing that once in a while. You know, it's, you know, it's normal. It's what you get in schools, and it's really nice to see, and I'm enjoying it. You know, I can hear the passing of classes, which I couldn't in the past.
I would kind of assume that the next school year is going to be similar since students, the vaccination will not be.
Yeah.
Really, we're not sure where it'll be for students, so I assume that the safety protocols, the masks, the distancing is going to remain in place next year.
You know, the distancing, I don't know if it'll remain in place, you know, for another week or two. I mean, the CDC just,
Dropped it to 3, right?
That's the elementary, I thought,
They
right?
dropped the spacing to 3. from 6,
CDC
right?
just cut all distancing to 3 feet.
3 feet.
New York State has not yet adopted
Oh,
that.
maybe that's what I.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it's not in place in the next couple of weeks. Now, in our high schools, with barriers, we're operating at that level in many of our classes already. The big difference would be, you know, close contact would now be within 3 feet. So and we've been very fortunate, but the few close contacts that we have had in school probably wouldn't be close contacts anymore if it switches to 3 feet. So, you know, as it continues to change, we'll continue to change. I don't know what next year will bring. I really don't know what next year will bring, but I can tell you that there's a tremendous push around the state and around the country to have kids in school all the time, every day.
I hope so.
And it still amazes me that we have schools in this country that the kids have been out since last March, every day. So I'm grateful for the fact that almost all of our kids are in, and you know, I think we're serving them the best that we can under these odd circumstances.
Doing a great job. Okay. That brings us to personnel. We have Shelley Finney resignation due to relocation effective April 5, 2021. And we have Lori Messina will be our guidance counselor leave replacement effective April 5th, 2021 through December 15th, 2021. And we've got the weight room program. It's going to be Joe Carrata at the high school and John Palmieri at the middle school, and varsity softball Kimberly Gerstung. Is there a motion to accept the recommendations?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second, Judy. Any questions, conversations? All in favor? Aye. New business? Finance committee report?
No.
Building committee report?
We did have a meeting. We got 6 responses for our request for architectural and engineering services. We talked about it for a bit. We've narrowed it down to 3, and we're going to have them come in and do a presentation. And I believe it's just going to be the Building Grounds Committee so far. And if we don't go with our former firm, we're going to have to come up with a system where we transition, because there's still some things that are holdovers from, you know, that they were involved in with the original bond. So there'll have to be a little overlap, but none of us really perceive that as being a problem.
The present firm is one of the 3, I'm guessing? The present firm is one of the 3, I'm guessing?
One of the 6.
They were one of the 6, and we think the general feeling of the board is that we might want to go in a different direction. And if I'm mistaken, correct me, but that was, Brian and I sort of got that general opinion, and we discussed it with the other folks at the meeting, and we thought it might be healthy. It might be, you know, things have changed at the former firm, and we think it might be better for us to go in a
So we're talking like the July 1 start with the new firm? Yeah, that gives you time to go through the interview process for the three.
You know, there's still some things, we talked about the pergola and how that's going to happen, and there's still some extra monies out there from the bond. Not a lot, but this is a significant amount of money. So we got to sort of transition as smoothly as we can.
Gotcha. Policy Committee report?
It's running smoothly, nothing to report.
Second hearing of visitors. Angela? All right. That was easy. We need one of those easy buttons.
Hmm.
That brings us to our board member commentary. Matt, how's it going down there?
Oh, pretty good. Everything Dr. Morrow said, I emphasize. I mean, it's school's a lot more fun now. It's just a lot better to be back, and things just feel normal again. You mentioned that some teachers were having issues getting appointments for the vaccine, and I think I'd like to give props to one of my good friends. Ben Ward would go on that website every single day and be watching it all day on his computer, and then he'd book vaccines for a lot of the teachers who didn't have time because they were teaching classes, and that was obviously very cool of him. So, yeah, but I think it's just really exciting. Like you mentioned, trips and stuff. There's there's the idea of the senior trip going on, like a little day trip to an adventure park. And a student council has some things in the works in regards to like a spirit day at the end of the year, and maybe a little pep rally. Just things that a lot of the kids missed out on at the beginning of the year, that maybe we can scrape together something that's remotely close, that feels a little normal. So, just exciting.
Thank you. Let's start down here with Mr. Tobin. Surprise, you usually go that way.
Yeah, right. It's just great to see the kids back. I mean, as a parent, see the difference in my kid. She's happy. She's excited to get back to school. I'm glad that the rules and our administration has made it possible, because they definitely need it. It's definitely a difference in her mood. You know, she's happier. Good to see her friends, and it's good to see the kids. You know, when we were in virtual, the drop off was easy. Now it's challenging again. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it was nice to see. So much appreciation to the staff and the administration for all their hard work and getting them back into school.
Thank you.
And good to see sports again.
Judy?
I don't have a child in the district anymore, but I will say that, I don't know, about a week or so ago, several friends of mine, we all remarked on how you're driving by the school now and it looks alive again. And it's the hub of our community as far as I'm concerned, and it's just really, really nice to see it look alive again. And I thank our staff and our administration for making sure that that happened, and that our students, continue to be able to move forward with this in whatever steps they can. So thank you.
Thank you. John?
Well, I have to say, I've lived here for almost 27 years now, and I drive by the school a lot on my way to work, and I've never been more excited to just see cars in the parking lot and people on the field. It may sound a little silly, but it's wonderful. So you don't really appreciate what you have sometimes until it's taken away from you. So
Everybody's learned that this past year, haven't they? Scott?
The mention of the CNC machine reminded me that, it was the taxpayers that didn't have kids in the school that supported our bond project, that allowed us to build a Class A shop like that and buy the CNC machine. So it's just a nice reminder of what supportive taxpayers we have. And like I said, most of them don't even have kids. They might have had kids that gone through, but a lot of them have never had a kid in the district. That's all.
Thank you. You're right. And those very same community people have commented, like we all just commented about how happy they are to see the kids outside on the fields and on the courts. And they don't have children in the school, and they go by this, because we all know, go by this road a lot. And they've commented how great it is. So it's from parents, it's from community, it's certainly from the staff, and best of all, it's from the students themselves. I wanted to point out the robotics, how cool it is that they're making the best like everybody has this year. And let's go back a year ago, that very robotics team, and I know some of these students were involved in making shields down at the brewery for the workers that were out there, because I know they dropped some off at my place of business, and I was so moved by that. So those kids really got out there last year in our community and helped through our robotics program with Jamie Mills and the Mills and all of that. And we've never had time to talk about that because we were virtual or wherever we were. So our kids do really good stuff within our community as well as within the district and their homes. So I just wanted to point that out. It's just another thing that I think is really neat. And I think Dr. Morris said it best, that we'll make some changes going forward that will be a positive thing for our district and our students. So some good has come from this. And I just want to take a minute to wish everybody a happy Passover and Easter. Have a good break next week. I think it has never been more well-deserved for our staff. Much appreciation to everybody that got everybody back. Like they say, it takes a village, and certainly it took this great staff of ours to make it all happen for our students, and it's much appreciated by everybody. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.